Hello, welcome to Cook to Nourish. Today's recipe is that of chocolate mousse pie, that is AIP and Paleo. So let's get started. Soak about 12 dates, medium-sized date, in hot water and keep it aside for about 10 minutes. Now for the crust, I'm using a special ingredient that is Lovebird cereal, unsweetened. I just kind of roughly crush it in a food processor for very few, like about 5 seconds or so, like just pulse it so that you get, it should not be completely powdery. And this I'm going to mix with some other ingredients like shredded coconut to make the crust. Now, if you are living in a place where you do not have access to the cereal, don't worry. You can still make the crust without this, and you can just make it with the rest of the ingredients and it will still be good. I have tried that before, so that's why I know. Adding the crust just makes it extra crunchy. Now I am adding 1 cup of shredded coconut, the Let's Do organic brand. Now the dates have softened, so I just roughly chop them and again adding them to the food processor with 3 tablespoons of melted coconut oil. Make sure it is melted. I like to melt it in a microwave. So that is, the blended date and coconut oil mixture. So see, it's like completely soft and like a semi-solid paste. Now I'm adding a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt, and that's it. That's all our ingredients for the crust recipe. Again, as I said, if you don't have access to the cereal, you can just omit it, but adding it just makes the crust delicious, like gives it that extra crunchy factor. So if you see, actually I have posted a couple years ago a recipe that is a mango cake that actually uses the crust recipe using shredded coconut and dates without the cereal, and that is still good. But in this recipe I added the crushed cereal to give that additional crunch. So I'm using like a 7-inch round spring foam pan. So because it is like a little smaller than your 8-inch pan, in addition to the base, this particular recipe will cover a little bit of the sides of the pie too, because it kind of covers a little bit to the edge of the pan as well. But if you use a bigger size pan like an 8-inch pie dish, then it will be more only on the bottom. So it depends on the size of the pan. Place that thing in the freezer. Place that pan in the freezer, and while it's in the freezer, we are measuring 2 teaspoons of gelatin and add 2 tablespoons of water to it in a small bowl, like how I'm doing, so that all of the gelatin is soaked in that water and it blooms. Next, I take a small saucepan and add 1 cup of coconut milk. I'm using canned coconut milk. And next you add 1/4 cup of raw cacao powder, 1/4 cup of maple syrup, a 1/4 teaspoon sea salt, and let this coconut milk heat up. When it becomes warm, your cacao powder will automatically start dissolving in it or mixing well in it. Now, if you are AIP elimination phase, then you can substitute carob powder instead of the cacao powder. So basically just continue heating it for another like 3 to 4 minutes until all of the cacao is like mixed well into the coconut milk, so you don't see any lumps. Next, we'll add that gelatin that we soaked. See, it's all like solidified now. And now in the hot mixture, when you continue to heat it, all of that gelatin will dissolve. So keep heating it and stirring it, and the next 2 minutes or so all that gelatin big piece will actually dissolve, and you should not be able to see any gelatin left. And finally you add the other 1 cup of coconut milk and turn the heat off and let the mixture cool. It's important to cool the mixture because if it's very hot, then the crust will be damaged. Now 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract also I'm adding here towards the end. Now strictly for AIP, you can use vanilla bean powder. Now this is my crust that has been in the freezer for 30 minutes. To this I will add this coconut and cacao mixture, which has been cooling. It's still a little bit hot, but it has cooled down for about 10 minutes. Now I'm pouring that into the crust. So again, depending upon how big your pan is, your crust may not come all the way up to the sides. Place the pan in the refrigerator for at least 6 hours for the pie to set. And once you get it out, carefully use like a butter knife to go around the edges to kind of loosen it up a little bit so that it's easier to get it out. And then because I'm using a springform pan, it's easier to get it out. See, that's your beautiful pie. Oops. And you can trim the edges to make it even more beautiful. Now I like to also add a topping, again using that cereal, Lovebird cereal, unsweetened. 1/4 cup of that, 2 tablespoons of tiger nut flour, 1 tablespoon of coconut oil melted, and a pinch of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon vanilla extract. And see, you get like a crumble, and I like to just put that crumble on top, and that can cover any imperfections on top of the pie, as well as, believe me, this crumble tastes even more delicious than the bottom crust. It's just very, very nutty flavor because of the tiger nut flour and that cereal, the additional crunch from that. It's absolutely delicious. And then additionally, I just did, for decoration purposes, did a chocolate drizzle, which turned out to be really, really pretty. Thanks for watching. I hope you can try this recipe. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.